Anime reboots, they're not uncommon. We have seen cases of animes getting rebooted, and the two biggest ones that I can think of that I personally have watched and enjoyed are Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Fruits Basket. But if you have been watching fall season of anime, you would know that there has been one series that actually is a reboot that is from a series that came out a really long time ago, and that is Urusei Yatsura. Urusei Yatsura is a manga series slash anime series that came during the 80s and 90s. Now, I haven't watched the original series mainly due to the fact that I didn't know this series existed until I found out there was a reboot going to come out in the year 2022. But after watching a few episodes of this series is great. It's hilarious. It's obviously a comedy, but what I really enjoy about it is that the comedy works. You would think that comedy that was made from the 80s and 90s wouldn't really work in today's time period because, well, comedy was different back in the 80s and 90s, so things that were considered funny back then will probably not be considered funny in today's time period. But surprisingly, the jokes do land, and oftentimes I do laugh whenever there's something funny going on. But before we keep talking about Urusei Yatsura, let's talk about the people behind the series. And if you don't know, this is being done by David Productions, and if you don't know anything about that studio, they're the same studio that has done JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Fire Force. And one thing that you should consider is that these two series, if you have watched them, you would know that they have a unique art style. So it's no surprise that David Productions was in charge of making Urusei Yatsura, because if you have watched the series, you will know that Urusei Yatsura has a unique art style, which I really do enjoy. It reminds me of the art styles that were used in 80s and 90s animes, but with modern animation. So with that out of the way, what is Urusei Yatsura all about? Well, it has a very simple plot actually. You see, in the first episode, we're introduced to our main protagonist Ataru, who is having relationship issues with his girlfriend Shinobu. However, while he's dealing with this, there is an alien Oni ship that's about to invade Earth. However, before they invade Earth, they decide to challenge one human being from Earth, which we will later find out is Ataru. They decide to challenge Ataru in a game of tag in which Ataru must touch the horns of the Oni Princess Lum in order to save Earth, and if he doesn't, well, the alien invasion is about to happen. Of course, this now all lies on Ataru's hands as he has to play this game of tag in order to save the world. At first, he's having trouble catching Lum, but he eventually does get her and the world is saved. However, that's not the end of the story, because due to a miscommunication, now Lum believes that Ataru proposed to her and has feelings for her, when in reality Ataru doesn't have any feelings for her whatsoever and likes the girl Shinobu. But no matter how many times Ataru has shown that he has no feelings for Lum, Lum is convinced that they're both meant for each other, and thus begins the crazy antics that unfortunately will affect Ataru's life. And that's pretty much it. After that, the next episodes are not story driven, which we don't see a lot often in animes nowadays. Most animes have a story or some sort of main story that you follow as the episodes go by, but with Urusei Yatsura, after the first episode, the rest of the episodes are just a bunch of antics in which Ataru now has to deal with an alien girl that won't leave his side, while also trying to get with the girl that he actually does love, thus creating the most insane love triangle that I've seen in a while. And while usually these antics will be considered annoying and not funny, it's quite the opposite in this series, because while you do feel bad for Ataru because of the situation he is in, at the same time, he is also not perfect, because as revealed in this series, he is a degenerate that will fall in love with any woman he sees. And once again, like I say, even though this may be annoying for some people or consider this annoying instead of funny, it's the reason why this show is hilarious, because without these antics, the show wouldn't be as funny as it is right now. Like if you remove Lum, Ataru, or Shinobu from this series, a huge portion of the comedy would be missing from this series. And one thing that I do gotta appreciate is how the studio, David Productions, is respecting the source material, because based on what I've seen from old fans from this series, it seems that they are using the same jokes that were used in the original series and from the manga. Although I have heard they made a few changes to these jokes, but once again, I think the main reason why they have made a few changes to these jokes is to make these jokes fit in today's time period. And like I stated before, the reason why I think this is a very unique anime is because you don't have to watch episodes by order. You see, other animes you do have to watch the episodes by order in order to get to the main story, but like I said earlier, this series doesn't have a main story. There is episodes that do show character development between the characters of this series, but other than that, there's not really any episodes that you have to watch in order. So basically what I'm trying to say is you can watch episode 3 and then watch episode 5, and it doesn't seem like you're missing anything out. Now obviously you do have to watch episode 1 because that's where you're introduced to the main characters and of course how this whole situation happened, but other than that, you can watch the other episodes out of order, and that's really something that I never really expected to see in today's animes. This is something that a lot of people have also compared it to, but this series is like a sitcom. I'm pretty sure everyone has watched a sitcom at some point in their lives, but if you don't know what a sitcom is, usually the way the sitcoms from a TV show are structured is by first introducing the character characters in the first episode with the plot of what the show is about. And then after that, you just see the crazy antics or the crazy adventures of those characters in that sitcom. Of course, there are moments in which they probably will make episodes that have some sort of story, but for the most part, you can watch any episode in different orders. And that is how Urusei Yatsura's anime is structured. It is a sitcom in anime format, and I'm really fine with this because don't get me wrong, I do enjoy animes that have a lot of story in them, and I really do enjoy those kinds of animes, and I don't really have an issue with them whatsoever. But it is sometimes nice to see animes that you don't have to take too seriously and just simply watch an episode with your brain turned off. And you know a series is doing well, a reboot is doing well when new fans are enjoying this series, but also old fans as well. I think that's what makes a great reboot. You're not only able to bring a new audience to that series, but you're also able to give a hint of nostalgia to the original fans because, well, they're the ones who made the series popular. Without them, the series wouldn't have been as popular without the fan base. And while I have said that this series is mainly comedy, there is moments in which there has been character development, and I'm really looking forward with this character development. Hopefully it's not a one and done thing where one episode they show character development and then the next episode they're still the same person, because let's be honest, we have seen a couple series in which they have done that. They show character development and the next thing you know, they're still the same person as the episodes go by. So hopefully that's not the case with this series, but we'll just have to wait and see how they handle the character development with the characters as the episodes go by. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing really else to say other than just I highly recommend you watch this series if you're looking for a comedy anime this season, or you're just simply looking for another anime to watch during the fall season. But I highly recommend you watch this series because this series is great. You can clearly tell how much passion and effort they're putting into this series. They're not being lazy or they're just doing this just to make some quick money. No, they're actually putting effort and passion into this project, and I'm really looking forward to see what the next episodes are going to be and what's going to happen in those episodes. One thing to also take note is the fact that this is going to be 2 cores, but I also heard there's going to be another core that's going to be done in the near future. Now I don't know if this is true. I have seen people mention this, but I haven't checked to see if this is actually going to happen. So take this with a grain of salt, but like I said, I have seen people say that there might be another core in the near future, which if this is true, then I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to do a full adaptation of this anime. I haven't read the manga, I don't know how many chapters there are, but if they are making another core for this series, then it does seem that they might make a full adaptation of this anime, which I'm not complaining. I look forward to it if they do a full adaptation because that would be great, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And with that, that's pretty much the entire video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.